Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of our speedrun. Now we have a Sicilian against Samuel Ofaria, rated 1541. Okay, he develops normally as they do in the Sicilian. We'll develop our bishop. Okay, we were attacking his knight, he removes the knight, counterattacks our bishop. We're going to leave it there for the time being as it's defended and develop a third new piece, attacking his strongest and only developed piece. He trades, forcing our move. He's going to kick our knight, again forcing our move. Maybe he'll attack the pawn. Okay, he goes here, which... Okay, I'm just going to castle. He develops a knight, attacks our pawn. We can't play e5, meaningfully. So... I mean, normally they kick your knight and you just go back home. But I guess I'll wait for him to spend a turn. And instead I'll just go d3 because we want to do that anyway to open our bishop. Try to get him to waste a turn, going a6, although it's not a huge waste because he wants to play b5 anyway. And you can't play b5 without a6 support, really. So he goes for the fianchetto, like the dragon structure. That's fine. I'm going to develop my bishop to a very modest square. The intention is actually to contest his bishop in a unique way. You could create a battery like a normal person, but I like trying new stuff and, seeing how the positions look. How else can you really learn, right? You do the same thing for 10 years, you probably didn't get much better. Your rating probably went up because you only play the same thing and other people don't know it as well, but the second they put you in a new position, you're like a beginner again. So he goes here, which isn't a6. It also blocks his b pawn, so I don't like this move for him, but I like it for us. However, his point is the b pawn. Hey guy, the b pawn. Okay. We could support it and kind of force a6. I don't see if that's a benefit though. I think we just move it back. He takes the pawn, which is almost never like critical. I mean, it's usually critical but never too scary because he wastes a lot of time. Our development is just a lot better. We're castled, so you don't really have time to do this. Rook b1, maybe I'll leave it for when he develops a bishop so he can pick up the pawn. Or maybe rook b1, queen here, knight in. Maybe it's already too devastating, actually. Yeah. So let's go rook b1. Free developing move. And now he goes here, but I think knight b5 is sometimes an idea when they take your stuff. He can't go queen a5 to defend because of our bishop. Our modest bishop move, right? But this attacks the queen as well as the square. And if you can't defend the square, you have to take the pawn. And okay, you get pawns for the exchange, so you're not really down, but can't be good for you. So now you can kind of see one of the consequences of taking a b pawn too early in the game. If you're fully developed, take all the b pawns. If you're not fully developed, be careful. And when I say fully, I just mean minor pieces even. You don't need the rooks and queens out to take the b pawn. He resigns. I bet you if he goes into another game right now and there's a free b pawn, I bet you he's not going to automatically take it. So just a quick check. Okay, no mistakes. We'll just go to the next one. Okay, so now we have white. which we had before. But now we don't have the Sicilian. We have Ruy Lopez. There it is, guys. At a 1500 rating level. We'll see how they respond. Typical kick the bishop. So we're forced to retreat and not give up a strong piece for a less strong piece. Also known as a weaker. Okay, he plays d6, which cements his center. So we're never really going to take the knight. So what we want to do is place c3, because since we're never going to take the knight, we're going to give it a new position for when he hits it, which he inevitably does. We go back to c2, protecting our central pawn, and it's in a nice cubbyhole, unassailable. So he develops his bishop. It's reasonable enough, and we should castle before we go on any adventures so that our king is safe. Maybe he'll pin the knight, which is what I was going to say. Our goal is to play d4. The pin hampers it a little, so instead of castling, you probably should have thrown in h3 just to make your life a little easier. But in any case, h3, here it is. Now if he keeps the pin, I'm not going to necessarily go g5. That's not the point of h3. I just, a little space, off chance that he takes. We'll see what happens. Maybe he should take, right? Lure my queen away from the d4 push. But then you give up your bishop, so. You don't have to get d4 at all costs, right? You play d3. So he goes back and he keeps the pin. It's fair enough. If we play d4, takes, yeah, let's not play it just yet. Let's just go with the modest d3, open our bishop. And you say, well, what are you going to do about the pin? Well, what I'm going to do is, oftentimes in the Ruy Lopez, you see them take the queen knight and remaneuver it to g3, and that's one way to break the pin. It's something you do anyway, even when there is no pin in the Ruy Lopez, so it looks at f5. So he just develops the knight, a non-threatening move that prepares the castle. We're not going to develop our dark square bishop just yet. We'll leave it flexible, and we'll go with the knight, which automatically supports the knight. If he happens to take for whatever reason, now we can take with the knight instead of the queen. We're ready to go. Okay, so he breaks in the center. Okay, before castling. Looks a little wrong, but usually don't open the position like that. So if we take, maybe he takes with the queen. Not sure. I think now g4 might be the move. I don't see sacrifices working, so if he goes back, no, definitely not. And if he ever, let's say I gave him another turn, if he pushes, yeah, I don't really necessarily want that. So let's take that guy, open up the e-file for our rook and his king. He doesn't take with the queen trying to add pressure, he takes with the knight. But we have this open file. We have knight e4 ideas, and we have d4. So d4 is currently not a thing, and if knight here, and he kicks you, you don't have c5, which otherwise looks nice. You're kind of pinned. So what does he do on rook e1? A developing move we want to make. Maybe now I'm threatening g4. If he goes back, we take the pawn. And this is why your life just would have been easier if you played h3 before castling, but yeah, it's still playable. So he moves his bishop again to defend the central pawn, but it gets off of this diagonal. Also now when I go knight e4, it comes with the tempo, so there's no time for f5. I mean, you could play it, but I'll take your bishop. Okay. So now g4, not so much because the pawn's defended, right? So, plus I have an open e-file. It's not so close. You don't really want to make that move. So he just castles, and I think we should take that bishop. If he didn't have an f-pawn, I can see an argument for you saying, oh, knight on the outpost in the center. But he can definitely dislodge that one day. So let's take the bishop. We could have broken the pin too, but taking his dark square bishop's nice. Um, Hitting his queen, eh. He has a lots of kind of like light square weaknesses where his bishop isn't. His bishop is doing one thing, but then it's not doing anything else. So I'm going to reroute my bishop. Sure, it may look nice here if you get to play d4 one day, but right now I'm looking at this d4 square, and if I don't give him time to play it, like he goes here with the knight, which looks nice, but I take it, and then I play bishop d5, occupying the central square so that he cannot push. It also comes with a threat, a pin, and a defensive maneuver that frees my queen. So, completely alternate option that happens to work. Now, his knight's unpinned. He wants to bring it to the center and add pressure to the pin. Now, and only now, we play d4, taking that option away, and we can move our queen to this beautiful d3 square. And our position is, we finally consolidated. And at the end of it all, we have a beautiful pawn chain, right? With no weaknesses, good squares for our pieces. And look at his pawn structure. Doubled F, isolated D, overextended queenside. So white's better. So he retreats the knight to attack the bishop, but we're of course not going to leave it here. We're going to hunt the pawn. And okay, we'll undefend our knight with the bishop, but we still have the queen. We can still go here. His idea, maybe he's going to... Okay, well, he had to move the rook, so let's... If I go here, is it trapped? Queen b6. I honestly wasn't expecting him to move his rook here, but... Okay, so here, queen b6, is there nothing? Yeah, I guess so. That's kind of weird. Okay, so only available square. A lot of you guys would have just trapped yourself. Not even sure if you would have seen it, but you can't play chess like that. Okay, now he goes here, but our bishop is extremely happy on this diagonal now that our pawn moved. So we can just tuck it back in the hole. Beautiful square. We can create the checkmate battery. He's going to be forced to remove his bishop all on his own just to contest us. At which point we didn't even have to break the pin. He did it on, we're forcing him to do it of his own volition, which is even cooler. Or he's going to block the square with his knight and his bishop is stuck. We'd never have g4 because of en passant, unfortunately, but that's fine. Okay, so this knight wants to go here and pressure ours, but we were going to move our queen anyway to break the pin. So now if he goes here, we could just move our knight in the center. You could also take it, but why bring his queen in? Put it in the center. Also, he hangs checkmate in 1, so there's lots of different things. His response was supposed to be bishop g6 here, but he ruined that for himself by putting the knight here. So now if you look at white's position, it looks 100% harmonious, right? At this point, I'd move 22. I kind of made some weird moves. I mean, all my moves were fine, but I'm sure you could have nuanced it better. So that I didn't take 22 moves to get to this position, but at the end of the day, you get this beautiful position. Rui Lopez seems to be quite principled and pretty nuanced. Queen d6 protects the pawn. Just gets active, I suppose. Now we can move our knight, though. Here. This is just devastating. Although, rook here, he can get away. And I don't have a good follow-up. It's just fancy. So let's go knight here. His bishop isn't hitting anything and is trapped. This is a game-losing blunder because of checkmate. f6. What happens on f6? Okay, he doesn't play it. He moves his rook over. Maybe next turn he's going to play f6. Interesting. Okay. I wonder if f3 is a move. It looks severely weakening to these two squares, but can his knight ever get there? In order to get there, he would have to get to f5 with his knight. So if I go there and he reroutes, he gets checkmated. If I go there and he plays f6, and I retreat here, whatever, trades rooks, then goes knight here. No, well, it's almost checkmate. He really can't move his knight. So maybe f3. Although, what's the huge benefit by playing that? Like, what's the point of it? It stops his bishop. It looks funny, but it's kind of dumb move, if I'm being honest. I don't know, something in me, like, wants to play it, but I'm not sure why. What do I like about that move? It only creates weaknesses, but still, there's something about it I like. I don't know intuitively if it's because it stops this or because it gives your knight a nice retreat square on f6. I'm not sure what it is, but something about that was my eyes were looking at. But then I did notice this after I realized f3 might be kind of dumb, which hits the trap bishop. And how do you deal with that? Yeah, it's just hanging. I was really just focused on, I was looking for a way at first to win this f pawn, because if I can win the f pawn, then g4 wins a piece. So I was looking for ways to like move my queen. What did he do? Okay, he takes a piece, but this isn't checkmate because he moved his rook. But I mean, I'm still gonna take it, of course. Not take the bishop. Let's definitely take the pawn with check. You can always take the bishop. So now when he goes here, and you give him the check, he's forced here. So now when you take with the rook, his king's blocking his rook, so he loses the house. So that was just a game-losing blunder. He really couldn't move that knight. As soon as he put it on g6, I had mentioned that he really needed that square for the bishop. So even though my queen is hit, although check, he can sack. Although his knight's pinned, so when I take this piece, he can't move the knight. And the rook's not protecting. So he can move his king somewhere, but you still get the knight. And your queen's out of danger, so that's the game. Okay, you can hit there, but you can take with either the queen or... Let's do the queen, might as well. The rook would have been just as good. Now we're up 4 points of material with a perfect structure and double rooks. Complete harmony in our position. The only light square bishop, the only bishop. The game's over. As soon as he trades, if he doesn't trade, I'll trade. In either case, these are all weak pawns that are going to be scooped up. So for example, I go here with a double threat. That's actually a clever move because I was really only threatening this one in the sense that my rook is technically hanging, right? That's funny. But in this version, we can now trade both rooks instead of just one. And at the end of the line, I still pick up a pawn with check. And now I definitely like f3 for the explainable reason it gets my king in. Before it was inexplicable, but now I have an actual reason. I mean, it was so useless, like ugly and unsightly when I wanted to play it. It almost seemed like it did nothing, but something about it looked good. Doesn't matter what you do. You could do it. I'm just making random moves, if you couldn't tell. When you're up a piece, I mean, life is so easy. And in endgames, even if you have a good move, as long as that, like let's say there's a weakness, right, and you can target it right away, as long as that move isn't going away, the best thing to do, practically speaking, is to improve your position as much as possible. Make all of the queenside pawn moves that gain the most space. Put your king from here to the center, and then do the pawn break, and then take the thing. Because should something go wrong, you're going to be in a way better position. Your pieces, your pawns, everything's going to be so much better placed if you don't play it 100% perfectly. So we have less than a minute, but that should be plenty of time because his king has to stay backwards for the pawn. And there's no stalemate, so blocks and zugzwang at this point. Whatever he does, his position gets a lot worse. And I love putting my opponents in zugzwang. I play chess for zugzwang. It's just my favorite concept. I mean, he can do whatever, but we have infinite moves, so. And he resigns now. Okay. Couldn't even let me get the checkmate. So we have a Ruy Lopez, and we have a very standard stuff. He kicks the bishop. We make the c3 space so we can play d4. He kicks it. We run. He develops. We castle. I recommend h3 here. I wasn't really thinking. It's just so much easier. There's no rush to castle. Your king's not in danger, obviously. And so, again, plenty of super GMs play castling first. You know, there's tons of games there. But I think just h3 makes sense. So, for example, here I play h3. Computer says plus 0.7. So it's not like it's bad. It's, you know, plus 0.7 is great for white. That's a good, you know, we're only 8 moves in. To be up almost a pawn is crazy. So, like I said, it's definitely playable and totally fine. But if I did it, like if I'm playing in silence, I definitely play h3 first. So he moves, and because d4 is a little complicated, he takes, I take. And then my queen and knight defend, but he takes the knight. You ruin your pawn structure or lose a pawn, so don't do that. d3 developing. Developing in center. And now, like, you probably have a bunch of moves here. Oh, wow. They just want you to ignore it. So how does g4 even work here? So g4, let's say he doesn't sack. He just moves the bishop. Oops. GD. He just moves the bishop. And then you go back to any of the other moves you were about to make before you g4. I don't really like it though. I definitely don't like that. So what else is there? There's a4, which is a typical move, which is fine. So let's say I go... There's also rook e1. Let's try rook e1, and he pushes. So I thought if we take this... Now, if he takes with the pawn, then I'm happy. But if he takes with the knight, you can't force it. The only move to be better is g4. He goes back, and then the pawn's hanging. Oh, so anytime he does this and you take, that would lure his knight's defense away. But what if he takes with the... Oh, if he takes... Well, he can't take with the queen. Huh. Yeah, I didn't want to take, but also didn't want him, like, closing up the position so that I couldn't open it. So we take, which is small inaccuracy, but not like nothing that matters. Okay, he takes back, and now we go rook e1, development center. You could play d4 here, it says. Well, d4, he can't take with the knight. The pawn is pinned, and he can't push it. Ah, yeah, so that makes sense. But I immediately, this is my one mistake of the game. So I have a 95% game with one mistake, and this is it. And the only thing was I was talking to you guys about how I couldn't get my knight to c5 after I put it on e4. Remember, after he kicks it? So the second he put this here, I didn't even look at the board or consider any candidate moves. I immediately launched my knight here with the thought process, oh, well, now I have an out. But I didn't even say, well, wait, what about all your other moves? I just automatically moved, and I missed a better move. Apparently d4 was super strong because he can't do anything. And so he kind of wants to castle, but now you're open and you have exactly what you want from the Ruy Lopez you got in d4. So I missed that opportunity. I really don't like all these g4 suggestions by the computer, but... So we play the knight to the center. Let me turn off the lines. He castles, and we're back to just being plus 0.7 better, which is what we've been for a lot of it. We take the piece and we lose our advantage. So my second inaccuracy. I have 2 inaccuracies in this game. This is the second one. They're saying you can even keep a larger advantage if you don't take the bishop and instead attack another piece, which the bishop is blocking the defense of. So the computer wants to be a little more aggressive and threatening. But okay, so it's a playable game by both sides, and now we go and attack the knight 1 turn later. Fine. So we're just improving a piece for free. And then the second he moves his knight here, we snap it off the board, which forces this weakness in his pawn structure, and gives, like, the second you move this pawn this way, we can now easily play d4. We get everything we want. White's just better from here on. From here to the rest of the game, white's just better from plus 0.8 and higher. We immediately occupy the central light squares. We immediately play d4 once we can. That's a forced move for free. I didn't want to trap my bishop, so forced move. Forced move. Unbreaking the pin by developing a piece to the center. Improving a piece to the center with tactics. And our position should visually, at this point, you should be like, oh, white's probably better, right? That should be your thought process. He moves the rook, and it's an immediate blunder because of... Okay, oh, because of my move. Is that the move? Yeah, because of queen f5. There's also knight takes f7. He's going to take the rook with check. You're going to take his rook. Your knight's hanging, hitting the queen. The critical line would be king takes, where you lose a piece. But then you have queen f5 check. He goes queen f6 probably. Although maybe not, because then you win another pawn. So let's say he goes king back. You pick up the bishop. You're up a pawn. The f pawn. Huh. That's pretty good. I didn't see that. But I did find the best move. So yes, that works. Let me go back to how my terrible move. Why did my eyes look at this? it loses the entire advantage. Well, okay, it loses the advantage because you don't win the piece that's available. But forgetting about that piece, if those moves weren't available, you have a4 for 1.1 and f3 is 0.5. So you still lose a good amount positionally because it seems like a useless ass move. Yeah, I'm glad I came to that conclusion and played the best move. I still don't know why it looks like let's say you take his knight off the board. So there is no possibility of him getting a knight here or here. He can still get a rook or a queen. And this bishop, like, why is you're covering this square, which doesn't matter. You're covering this square, which doesn't matter. I don't know why my brain looks at that move. There's something from some other similar position, but in any case, I didn't make it. We go for the check. We take the free bishop. It's +6. He's toast. Completely winning endgame. I hope you guys can win this. It's +8. You're up a bishop. Enough said. Good luck in your chess. See you in the next one. Bye.